Greetings to all you board game lovers and deadites out there. I am Today I'm doing an unboxing of Evil Dead 2, the board game. For those who don't know the trials and tribulations of this was originally a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter, while it was successful, a whole bunch of stuff happened, and long story short, the person who ran the Kickstarter got away with the money, and nobody got their game. So following that, Lynnvander Studios picked up the licensing, bought out all the content, and decided to have another Kickstarter where every pledge for a game, for a copy of the game, would also give somebody else who previously backed it on the first campaign a free copy. So I forget what they called it, um, but it basically what happened is when this Kickstarter was funded, all of the original backers would get a free copy of the game, and the existing people would, the new backers, they would get their copy of the game. Some people backed for extra copies so that they would get this and the original copy that they were due. What I chose to do is they also had a pledge tier for what's called a Cinestory, which is a graphic novel of this movie. And while that did not ship yet, there were some logistical issues and it was held up. So they're going to ship that at a later date, but they shipped everyone's games out first so that we all get our games. So I backed for that as well. Just throw it in there. It was successful and we all got our games. So I'm going to be doing an unboxing. I haven't read the rules yet, so I have no idea how to play. I watched one video that was on the Kickstarter and it wasn't really structured the way I would have preferred for learning the game. So, uh, initial impressions of the box art. The box art is pretty good. I dig it. It definitely captures the feel. I like the Necronomicon part. One thing I was not crazy about is, so it looks like the game is in like a sleeve, and the issue I have with this is that if you look, even though it's shrink wrapped, there is a tear. I don't know if you can really see it. Let's see if I can get this closer. There's a tear like right here. It's hard to see through the plastic on the sleeve itself. So, and that's the cardboard sleeve. So I'm not sure if that was, there's also another one here. If you can see that one's a little bit more visible. So that I'm not so, like some people would be not crazy about. I personally, it doesn't bother me. I have dished boxes in some of my games. Some of my games, the boxes, like my copy of Hero Quest is absolutely destroyed, but the game itself is intact. It's just the box. So I won't go too crazy with the boxing. The only issue I had with a box, well, that I saw people have with a box was when they did the Kickstarter for Fireball Island. The box was more like corrugated cardboard. It wasn't like a standard game box like this one. And that one, some people complained about. I didn't really personally care. So long as everything fits in the box, that's my biggest problem. So this comes with two different pieces. This comes with the main board game, and they also shipped out an extras pack. It looks like the extras packs is sort of like an expansion. It does come with its own rule book, extra miniatures. I'm not entirely certain what this brings to the gameplay. So on the back here, if we look at the back, on this one here, the back of the game will say everything that this one does. 60 minutes, 14 up, 3 to 6 players. So I'm not entirely certain about this, but I'll do another video where I'll go through the rules and we'll see what is what. So first, let's pull the plastic off and let's see what we get. Try not to He-Man this and Hulk out because I'm really excited, but I just don't want to do any actual damage to it. I haven't done that, just to be forthright. I haven't actually done that. So let's pull this out of the sleeve. Oh, cool. And the actual game has the same thing, except it doesn't have the name on the front. So here's the sleeve. Here you can better see, like there's the one like there. This is all creased up here, and there's the tear up here, which now you can see. But like I said, it's a sleeve. I'm not really concerned. The actual box itself feels really nice, actually. The finish on the box is nice. See, it says Evil Dead and the names of the studios on the sides. Has the same back as the actual sleeve, and it all feels very, very smooth, very nice. All right, let's get this sucker open. Okay. Inside of it's very standard. Nothing crazy. I know some people get crazy about boxes. I'm not a huge box nut. All right, we got our rule book. I was able to look through some of the rule book prior during a beta release of it, and then what they did was they pulled it down. I don't know why. Probably maybe because they had rewrites or clarifications and they didn't want to put the final version up, or they might have put a final version in an update that I just missed. But the rulebook is pretty nice. It's a lot of good artwork in it. It's not, it, it's very readable. The layout makes it readable and accessible. It's got nice large font, a lot of pictures, examples. This is kind of what I like in rule books. I'm not a fan of rule books that are just straight text. And an example of that, excuse me, an example of that would be Through the Ages. Through Through the Ages is a civilization game, and the rule book is like reading a novel. It's pretty brutal. If you have trouble sleeping at night, pick that one up. You read that through, you'll go right out. Looks like this has an ad for the Cinestory and the Extras pack, which is pretty cool. So those will be available on their website, which is awesome. And another ad for the Buffy the Vampire game. Buffy the Vampire Slayer game. Sorry. All right, we got our cardboard tokens here. These are the item tokens, I believe. These here, the artwork on these looks pretty good. Got a shotgun shells, axe, stakes. I don't remember what that was in the movie. Sneakers, pages. These look like pages of the Necronomicon. These actually, I wonder if this is going to actually come through on there. These actually look really, really cool. These are actual images from the Necronomicon from the movie. That looks really, really dope. I like that. Uh, this looks like bottles of alcohol. I don't know what this is. A chicken leg, maybe? Maybe it's food. These look like maybe traps. Not sure. I'll have to look through the rules for that. All right. All right. These are, I believe these are like player boards or um, like rules clarification boards. Little things that you keep next to you, next to the side of the table for each player, just to remind them what does what, how many of them there are. So yeah, these are already coming right out. Cardboard on these is nice and thick. They feel good. Finish is nice. Artwork is solid. Doesn't look like there's any imperfections. I really dig it. So this will tell you how many, it looks like it's telling you how many of these are in existence in the game. It seems to track with, yeah, it seems to track with what's on the actual, let me get the board back out. What's on the actual board. So I got 3 sneakers here. There's 3 running shoes. Discard to gain +1 speed for your move actions. So all of these are different items that you can use to help you out. I believe this game is sort of like a secret trader game where one person will eventually become or can eventually become a deadite, and then they will be working against the players to prevent them from closing the portal, and they'll be trying to open the portal all the way to let all of the deadites in. If you're unfamiliar with the theme, Evil Dead 2 is a movie from, I believe, the early 80s with Bruce Campbell. It's a very famous, very campy, low-budget horror movie where him and his friends go to a cabin in the woods for, a teenager kind of getaway, and the cabin was being used by a scientist, or an archaeologist rather, who found the Necronomicon, which is the Book of the Dead. He read from it, which he really shouldn't have done, and he summoned a Kandarian demon to that basically came, infected his wife or possessed his wife, and shenanigans ensued. So these kids come, they find it, they find the book, they find his recordings of him reading from the book, which of course brings about the demons again, and hilarity ensues. Kids start getting infected or possessed or what have you, and they need Bruce Campbell to save the day. And why wouldn't you have Bruce Campbell save the day? He's awesome. All right, so all those are the same. Just put those aside. It looked like they had wound. I'm guessing those are wound tokens, those red tokens on the side. If you want to pull one of those out, we'll take a look. Yeah, it's like a blood splatter. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's like a little blood splatter token. That's pretty cool. All right, this is the game board, and oh, they actually put a some random piece of cardstock in there to protect the game board from the rest. All right, let me just set that aside. Let's see if I can get the whole game board in the shot. Back of the game board looks like it some slight manufacturer's imperfections. There's a little bit wrinkles here from the manufacturing process. And yeah, this actually looks really, really cool. So the whole board is, you got two different paths here. These, I believe, the player counts match up with either side where it says seal or summon. So you want to either seal the gates, or you want to summon the demons, depending on whether you're human or a deadite. So my guess is like other games that are similar, where you have two different tracks competing to try and get to the end, and if the track goes one way or the other, then either side would win. So you have different rooms that are sorted out here. There are token spots, and some of these have on them. This one says 4p, this one says 5p, this one says 6p. So different tokens go into different spots depending on your player count, it looks like. A lot of this is laid out just like the cabin, which is really, really, really cool. You have the main room here where you first walk in. This is where the deer's head is, the desk where they play the recorder. The recorder's there. That's pretty awesome. The fireplace, the rocking chair. The rocking chair was a big thing from the movie. Over here is the cellar trapdoor with the chains on it, which is also from the movie. Each area is separated by a letter. So you have G here, F, E. This is where the portal is. Over here is where it's kind of hard to see, but let me see if I can rotate this a little bit so you can see it better. Over here is the grave, which, if you know the movie, is where I believe he buried Linda. This is where everybody came in. Over here is the work shed, chainsaw. And that is pretty much it for the cabin. The sitting room, bedrooms, bathroom. It's kind of odd that they only have one bedroom, but I guess it's just not as true of a recreation. Who knows? I don't really remember the layout so well. I'll have to look through the movie again to figure all that out. Always up for reviewing. All right, so have a piece of cardstock. We got some dice, 3 dice. These dice are pretty cool. These are, yeah, these are standard like plastic or resin dice. They have little chainsaws on them. Uh, Looks like little demon skulls, and then 2 blank sides. So the original dice for this game that was supposed to be for the original Kickstarter were wooden. And, well, you can opt for the wooden dice. And the wooden dice were actually made from the wood, the reclaimed wood from the original cabin. Now, I actually bought some of those dice, but unfortunately they're not compatible with this game. These have different symbols on them. They have like a dead-eyed head of one side. This looks like Henrietta's head. This looks like Ash's face. This is the Necronomicon. Chainsaw. There's a bunch of squiggly lines. I'm guessing that's supposed to be some kind of magic for the Necronomicon, and then a shotgun. So these are slightly different dice. So when Lynnvander Studios took over this game, they actually revamped the rules. They made it a much different game. All right, we got some figures in here. Got the tree. That's pretty cool looking. This is actually really, really good size. I have pretty big hands, so this is actually a really, really nice size. And we have Applehead. This one's actually really heavy. This is a pretty beefy miniature. Got a lot of weight to it. All right, we got some cards. Let's pop open these cards, take a look. All right, looks like we have a few different types. Event cards. We have some corruption cards. These look like player character cards and boss cards. Rotten Applehead. Oh, that looks pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. Killer Tree, the Hand, Henrietta. Henrietta, if you remember from the movie, was the one in the basement. The Hand was Ash's evil hand that he cut off. The Killer Tree, I believe was from, I want to say when the one girl got grabbed by the vines, and that's a whole nother story. The Rotten Applehead, this one I'm not really familiar with, but I'd have to rewatch it and see. I don't really remember. I know what Applehead is in some of the later stuff. I know it's mentioned, but I'm not really certain offhand. All right, let me just put these guys away. These guys have actually like vac trays that fit them pretty nicely. And this has vac trays here, most likely for the tokens, and this is going to be all the figures. So you have Deadite cards, human cards. These are the corruption cards. So you're going to draw cards, and depending on how many players are in the game will depend on how many Deadite cards you put in a stack of however many human cards. And throughout the process of the game, you get these cards, and if you turn into a Deadite, then your goals change. Sort of like Betrayal at the House on the Hill. All right, so we got those. These are the player cards. These are really cool. The likenesses are not so much on point, except well, Linda looks pretty similar. Ash looks like Bruce Campbell. Uh, these guys don't really look like their characters. Jake, Ed, Bobby Joe's kind of similar. You have wounds, attack, speed, and virtue. So I'm guessing wounds is your health. Alrighty. And we have event cards. The cards are pretty standard, a little thin. They don't have that linen finish to them, but they're not like overly glossy. All right, so these are just Very standard artwork. The artwork on these is kind of ho-hum. Not really. Just kind of a woods background with just the gray kind of like, or the beige kind of like the pages of the Necronomicon at the bottom. These corruption cards were similar, the just wood from the cabin, standard wood and bloodstained wood. All right, now let's check out the part we're all waiting for, or that I'm waiting for, is the minis. I did see a lot of pictures of these online, and they looked awesome. I really wish that my hands didn't shake like a leaf so that I could actually paint them. I'm actually going to use the scissor for this, just 'cause I don't want to do anything dangerous. Danger is not my middle name. Okay, so these look like deadites. I believe this is the bag O deadites. Yep, these be the deadites. These all look the same. These are identical. They look pretty good. I don't know if you could see them very well. And it's kind of hard to see without refocusing. Let me see if I can refocus on the fly here. There we go. So the detail's pretty decent. Looks like they're standing on the wood. The only downside to it is some of them have slight imperfections. They all have this little spot in the back, and the heads and arms appear to be separate pieces, so they're kind of glued on. And the seams are pretty visible, but you could probably paint over that. You'd never notice it. So you get a whole bunch of these little dudes. I'm just going to pop these back in the box. And these look like some of the player characters. Yep. Okay, so these appear to be some of the Deadite versions of people. Yeah, these are the Deadite versions. Some of these are not. Some of these are good, some of these are eh. I think they went a little too thin. So the girl had let me get up here so it'll refocus. She's got like kind of like a branch arm. The seams on them are kind of meh, and this one is really, she's a little bit like she didn't drink her V8 this morning. Come on, you can do it, buddy. There you go. So, I mean, she looks all right. She feels a little flimsy on the stand. I wouldn't really mess with her. This one looks pretty awesome. She's holding her head. So that's pretty cool. And you got a guy holding a shotgun. And then these are going to be the regular main characters and the main bad guys, other than the big tree and Applehead. So here you have Applehead's hands. So here's Applehead's one of his hands. That looks pretty awesome. Coming through the boards of the floor. That's pretty cool. Here's our main characters. This is probably Ash. This is another Deadeye. This one actually looks really cool. I like this one. He's howling for you. That's pretty cool. We got Ash's hand. Sorry, just redoing the focus here. So we got Ash's hand here. That one actually looks really good. The hand came out great. Got Henrietta. Henrietta looks fantastic. Big old butt. I like it. And it's Henrietta. She looks great. That one's that one's pretty awesome. There's another hand. Two of the other characters. This is Evil Ash, I believe. And the Ash one that we all wanted. The one of him with the shotgun and the chainsaw. That's excellent. So some of the minis have looks like maybe they were glued onto their bases. They look like they have residue of the glue on there. I'm sure all that can be painted over, but I feel like some of the minis you can tell that they really paid a lot of attention to detail, and some of them it was kind of iffy. There wasn't really a lot done. But some of them do have great detail. Like this one has you can't really see, but his face is kind of a skull, which is really, really awesome. All right, let me gently put these back in the box, and we'll get to the extras pack. Dun dun dun. All right, I'm not even gonna crazy with all that stuff. All right. Let's bust this sucker opens. Plastic on this one's a little bit tighter than the other one. Okay. Box is the same, just very, very standard. Okay, we got some instructions. Introductions. This looks like it includes some new bosses. Oh, there's a gooseneck Henrietta, there's Bad Ash, the deer head, a demon, possessed deer, possessed squirrel. Oh, this looks awesome. All right, let's see what we got in here. We got some more cards. These are additional event cards that have to do with just this expansion. Standard back tray. There's nothing underneath it. I know there usually isn't, but I'm weird. I like to check that kind of stuff. So we got some minis here. We got the Bad Ash. He's missing his hand. It's a little nub. That's pretty great. We have Gooseneck Henrietta, which, if you remember from the movie, looks just the body is pretty spot on with the original from the original game. Just the only difference is the head. And we got a whole bag of minis. And I'm going to open this up hopefully without cutting myself. I don't want to miss a finger. Okay, it looks like we got some sections of broken fence. So they're kind of like barricades. And they're all pretty much the same. We have tokens for the items. So we got the shotgun. We have the chainsaw. It's kind of just sticking to the ground. Shotgun here. The axe. It's a trick. Get an axe. A couple more shotguns. I don't remember that many shotguns in the movie, but hey, what can I say? This looks like the Kandarian dagger. So if you remember from the film, that was part and parcel with the Necronomicon. All right, we got some wicked looking squirrels. They look pissed as hell. I like it. A couple of these guys. Looks like 4. Oh, we got another X. We have some angry deer. They look pretty nuts. I don't remember deer having manes, but what do I know? I'm not a biologist. We have, let's see, 4 of them, 4 of the crazy squirrels. We have the deer portrait laughing. This is kind of awesome. I really dig this. I wish I could paint. And even the back is tiled with the brick of the fireplace. That's pretty cool. I like that. And we have 2 of these demons. Now, these weren't really, as far as I remember, they weren't in the movie. Looks like they just made them for the game. But these look really, really cool. They have kind of like a segmented body at the bottom, similar to that of the Kandarian dagger if you look. The bottom of the dagger is segmented in a kind of similar way. So that's probably where they did that, which is a pretty cool touch. And the bat wings and stuff. There's 2 of these guys in there. That is pretty awesome. Very cool. All right, I'll put these back in a minute. So my impressions of this, I think this looks awesome. I really think it, from the artwork that I saw online, and then what they ended up delivering, especially with regard to the game board, is really, really spot on. It looks and feels very much like the movie. Some of the minis are and some of the card artwork I think maybe could have been improved, but overall, I mean, none of us who backed the original really thought we were getting a game. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of it really depends on gameplay for me. So if I get a game, you look at a game like Agricola. Agricola, a lot of the stuff that you have with the original Agricola is just wooden discs. So it's not really a whole lot of immersion with the artwork and everything, but the gameplay is solid and it fits the theme and it's fun. This all really looks like it fits the theme, and with these extras, looks like this adds on a little bit more fun realism where you can add the items to the rooms and they actually look like the items, which is really, really awesome. They included a lot of the stuff from the movie, all the Deadite versions of everybody, the Henrietta when she first appeared versus the one with the gooseneck, which is great. I really, really dig that. The deer heads, the crazy tree, all of that included. Really, really knocked that out of the park with how much they love this game. That they love the source material, and it really came through with the game. The artwork on the box and everything is really, really fantastic. So I really like this. I'm excited. I'm really excited to get this on the table. This looks like a decently solid game. I remember reading the rules on it, and it's 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 very much a race to the finish, secret trader kind of game from what I read initially. So, all right, that's it. Once I get this on the table and have read the rules, well, maybe the other way around, I will do another video on this to go over the rules real quick and give my thoughts on what the gameplay is like. I just got to get some people over because I can't really play this with my kids. They haven't really seen the movie and they kind of bug out over certain horror um, themes. But otherwise, looking pretty cool. And I'm overjoyed that I really finally got a game, that I finally got this game. I mean, we've been waiting a long, long time. The original Kickstarter was supposed to deliver a couple of years ago, and then this came about, and then it was a few years before this actually finally delivered. So I'm really excited about this. Very happy I finally got it. And like I said, Lynnvander, they really did a wonderful thing for the original backers by allowing us all to get our copies of the game. It they did that in lieu of doing stretch goals on the Kickstarter, and they really did a great service for all the fans of Evil Dead who backed that original Kickstarter. So big thank you to Lynnvander, and I will see you guys all sometime soon. Later.